So we sit top of the tree at Christmas. And although we've said that before, I think it's the least that we deserve. We have had some injury problems. There has been all of this kind of question marks over can this squad compete with the injury crisis that we've had? And the answer, I think, now is yes. So we can't use that as any form of excuse because what we've proven is that a squad that we've assembled now, that we've put together in this summer, is definitely good enough to go and win this league. We're top of the Champions League and we're top of the Premier League. We've got the Carabao Cup that we are very close to being in the semi-finals of again. And then we've not even started the FA Cup. But what we have done is drawn Portsmouth, which you'd like to think is a lot easier than the last 3 years where we've drew Manchester City, Liverpool and Manchester United in those same rounds. So we're in a good position. There's always room for improvement and there's always concerns that I'm going to raise when I see them. Whether we're 12 points clear, whether we're 1 point clear, or whether we're second, third, or fourth, I'll always give a way in which I feel we can improve. And I think the last few games, we have been a little bit nervy. It has been a little bit of a nervous watch as a fan. It hasn't been, in my opinion anyway, a comfortable watch. It hasn't been a game where we've dominated from start to finish, peppering goals, should have scored by 5 or 6. We've definitely had concerns there. And what's quite ironic with this team, and this goes in credit and favour of Arteta and Andrea Berta, the defence hasn't really been an issue. And the defence has been depleted. In fact, I think every single position in our backline has at some point been injured. Whether it's Timber, whether it's White, whether it's Saliba, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's Calafiori, we've had one of those individuals out due to suspension or injury. And on top of that, we go into the depth of our squad and players like Mosquera have got injured on top of that as well. So we've actually had an injury crisis in defence. And I don't know any other team in the top 6 that could deal with the amount of injuries we've had at the back. So I think that definitely deserves huge credit. If Manchester City would have had Vardio out on top of Diaz, on top of Stones, on top of Ake, and on top of the 2 fullbacks that they've got in O'Reilly and Nunez now, they wouldn't have been able to cope defensively. Then you look at Liverpool. Would they have been able to cope defensively with Konate, Van Dijk, Kirkes, and Frimpong all out on top of Bradley and let's say Robertson? No, I don't think they would. So we've definitely got one of the best squads in the world and definitely the best in the league, in my opinion. But you don't win trophies for that. You've got to go and prove that by getting this team of players across the line. And there is concerns, and it isn't defensively. Our midfield, I still don't know, is quite working in terms of the creativity. I love what I see from Rice and Zubimendi. I think both of them complement each other. And I think the reason Declan Rice is having such a dominant and excellent year is because of the signing of Zubimendi. Albeit there's certain flaws in his game in terms of his physical presence at times. I think he does get caught out defensively, but certainly on the ball, I think he's excellent and technically gifted. So it's not those two in midfield that's the issue. It's the person in front of them. And I have an issue at the moment with that. And I think the reason that I've got a problem with how we're playing at the moment comes down to that one position. Now, this isn't me piling it on a player. This isn't me scapegoating somebody. This isn't me selecting one player and saying you're the issue with all the 10 are doing their job, because that's not the case either. The attack's an issue because if it doesn't come from an individual piece of brilliance from Saka or Trossard, we're not scoring at the moment. If it doesn't come from an individual cut inside and a shot like against Sunderland from Trossard, we don't score. If it doesn't come from a piece of trickery from Saka, whether it be delivering into the box, whether it be shooting, we're not scoring. And that needs to change. It needs to. Now, we can all look at the striker, and maybe people think that it's going to be him that I'm selecting. I've done my Victor Gyökeres chat. I'm giving him time, but I'm saying that I might have got this one wrong. You can do that. You can say, I think he'd work. Oh, crikey. No, you really don't. How many teams have done that before? Manchester City, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal have done it before. We've gone and bought in strikers that we thought were going to take us to the next level, and they haven't. We've gone and bought in the player we thought was the answer in the middle of the park. It hasn't been able to be that guy. And I think that there's many people that have done that. I remember Chelsea over the years, they thought Fernando Torres was their guy. Everybody went, Chelsea are going to win everything. And it didn't work. Shevchenko didn't work. Liverpool have done it. Arsenal have done it. How many years have we tried to fit a centre midfielder to actually cover for Patrick Vieira. None of them did. Song, no, good player, but no. Xhaka, good player, but no. Coquelin, good player, but no. How many players did we have in that position before we found one? Torreira, Guendouzi, and then we find Thomas Partey and Declan Rice and these guys, and we're like, finally, we've got someone who's of that level now, or at least gets near to that level. Maybe we haven't got the answer up front yet in Victor Gyökeres, but I think he deserves more time. He deserves the season. Absolutely, he does. But he's not the person I'm saying that I need to see more from. The player I need to see more from is our captain, is our leader, is the one who leads from the press, is the one who sets the example, is the role model in the team, is the one everybody voted to be captain of this team because of those attributes that he has. And I haven't seen enough of that from him. Now, have I seen this before? Let me tell you about the Ødegaard journey as far as Dan Potts was concerned. When we got him on loan, back then we were fighting to try and get into the top four. I thought it looked like a good player. We brought him in. He was a wonder kid at 15, 16 from Real Madrid. It wasn't really working out for him. And I thought, this is a good signing because we haven't really got much to lose. It's on loan. There's a potential for us to look to try and buy him. And from what we understood at the time, it wasn't going to be a lot of money because he was told, no, you're not the Modric. You're not the Casemiro. You're not the Camavingas of this world. You are going to be not needed. So he came to Arsenal. And if I'm honest, I didn't see a magnificent talent. I saw a player who had potential. I wasn't too sure. I saw weight of pass in his game and I saw a bit of creativity and a bit of vision. But at the time, the players that were dotted around him weren't exactly fantastic, were they? So I don't think we saw enough. And the year that we'd signed him was the year that I think Spurs were looking to sign Maddison. And I wanted James Maddison. Tell a lie, that was the year after that. I wanted James Maddison when he was at Leicester. He just scored, I think, 16 goals. It was something like 30 goals and assists. He'd done that in the last 2 years. This was before he got injury problems. And I remember thinking, let's go and get him. The other player I looked at was Houssam Aouar, who's never gone on to do anything. But when he was playing for Lyon, looked to be a talent. I thought, let's go for one of those two because they're the ones that are on form right now. And I always think it's worth taking a punt like Gyökeres, like players that have come in at this time that haven't done so well, Wirtz, Isak. I always think it's worth going for them. I don't think anybody looked at those signings for Liverpool and Arsenal and thought, they're not good enough. I think they thought, yeah, can see why they've gone for them. They're on form. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to continue that form, but you can understand why I'd go for that. And that's why I was looking at Maddison and Houssam Aouar at the time. And when we signed Ødegaard, I've got to be honest, I was okay with it. It was like, yeah, that's not a bad signing. Not horrific. Good money for that much, 30 million or whatever it was. But didn't wow me. I wanted to see more goals and I wanted to see more assists. And the following season, he did that. In the 22-23 season, Martin Ødegaard was probably one of our best players. With 15 goals in the Premier League, 7 assists on top of that, and in all competitions was looking like a player that, let's just be realistic about it, was one that we absolutely wanted to see. Absolutely wanted to see. And he looked like he was going to be our creative spark. The threaded balls through to Jesus, to Saka, to Martinelli, I saw it. I thought, I've got this one wrong. This guy could be a creative spark for us. He's doing it. I need more goals. I need more assists. I'm going to mud Dan Potts. I'm going to stick 15 in the net in the Premier League. Done. Me, wrong. Ødegaard is the man. And I really thought he was. And in the following season, he had another pretty good season. And I thought to myself, this is okay. This is what I need to see. In 35 games again, he got 10 assists and 8 goals. Nowhere near the level of the previous season goals-wise, 7 short, in fact. However, 18 goals and assists is not so bad in a 35-game period. It's not shocking. On top of that, he scored a couple of goals and an assist in the Champions League as well, and then got goals in both the domestic cups that we're in as well. So when you look at the season, you think, yeah, Ødegaard actually in the latter part of it was a massive key part for how he played. And that run that we went off from January, where I think we beat Palace 5-1, all the way to the last end of the season, where we drew to Man City 0-0, and then obviously lost to Villa. He was one of our better players. And then last season, he got that injury. And since then, I haven't seen the same Martin Ødegaard. I've just got to be honest with you. Last season, he got 3 goals. He got 8 assists in the league. Not a shocking stat, but nowhere near good enough for how many games that he played. And that was because the first few games he was injured with Norway and he never really got going again. And unfortunately, he hasn't got going again this season. He's had shoulder injury after another shoulder injury, after a thigh injury. The guy is literally getting knocks all the time. And when he's coming into this team, I'm not seeing Martin Ødegaard at his best. And right now, I'm going to say it, I think he's really struggling. I don't think he's playing well enough. I don't think he's showing the same level of confidence. And I understand the attributes he does bring, which is press. Nobody can do that better. Which is driving us forward. No one can do that better other than Declan Rice. But there's a lot of spinning around on the ball. There's a lot of taking his time on the ball. There's a lot of taking too long on the ball. There's a lot of decision making that are frustrating to watch. Should he shoot there? He's passing instead of shooting. Now he's finally got the pass on and he's deciding to have a shot. He's lofting the ball over the back line, which is incredibly difficult to control unless you're going to hit it top bins and volley it like Van Persie style. He's not making it easier for the team players around him at the moment. And that, for me, is the biggest concern and question mark over Martin Ødegaard, because he always used to make things easier. A couple of years ago, you'd thread a ball through and you think, wow, that was like Ozil. Where did that come from? And he was starting to do it a little bit more consistently. If you remember, Martinelli and Saka all got 15 goals that season, and the majority of the assists, I believe, were from Ødegaard. So how do we improve this? It's fair enough moaning about it. Where's the solution? I'll tell you what I'd like to see. It's easy to say drop him out the side. It's easy to say play Eze. But I'm not so sure that the solution is there then, because Eze was kind of struggling in that position as well. I wonder if we don't see Jesus a little bit more in the next coming weeks. And the reason I say that is this. I'm not saying that we should revert all the way back to 22-23, because we've learned a lot in the time period that's running up to that. But it was some of the most scintillating football that I've seen. And whenever I ask Arsenal fans, what do they want to see? They want to see the Arsenal back from 22-23. Now, the Arsenal back from 22-23 had a good 11. It didn't have a good squad. But we've now got a good squad. Does Jesus and Ødegaard together bring us a little bit more of that free-flowing football back? I think it probably would, because Kai Havertz and Marino and Gyökeres are that kind of focal point, aren't they? They're that man mountain that they do the hold-up play quite well. And if I'm honest with you, I would argue that Marino and Havertz actually suit the system more than Victor Gyökeres, but that's another argument that we've already previously had. But Jesus fits that system. And Jesus isn't that man mountain to ping the ball up to. Jesus actually interplays a bit more. Now, I've always said Jesus is a very good footballer when fit. The reason I think he's been more of a flop at Arsenal and probably needs to be sold is because of his injury problems, nothing more. It's never been about his disability. It's never been about the fact that he's not good enough. It's never been about the fact that he's not going to take to that next level. He's always been a good footballer. I wanted to upgrade on him, and I still think we should. But if he's fit, I'd argue to say that I'd be more than happy to see him playing in the 9 at the moment. If Gyökeres was banging them in, he has to hold bench, but he's not. And I appreciate he got the penalty at the weekend, and I hope that does his confidence a world of good. But I just think Jesus now could actually allow there to be a little bit more from Martin Ødegaard. And I want to see it. It's only my thought process. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Doesn't mean if we drop in Ødegaard and Jesus, all of a sudden we're scoring 4 or 5. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But I do look at the play of Saka and Martinelli alongside Jesus, and I liked it. I do look at Ødegaard in behind, threading balls to either one, Jesus pulling strikers apart and allowing that space for Martinelli and Saka. I do look at that. And I think with Rice and Zubimendi now behind, instead of Partey and Xhaka, there might be more of a potential for us to go forward a bit more and have a little bit more of that discipline at the back. With Rice and Zubimendi and a double pivot in your back line that you've got when everyone's fit, it's very hard to break that down. So allow your players to express. Allow Ødegaard to go and take a little bit more movement towards the left and right. Allow Saka and Martinelli to have that space with Jesus potentially there. And you can bring on Marino. You can bring on Havertz. You can bring on Gyökeres. Eze can come on as well. But right now, I need to see more from Martin Ødegaard. I do. I'm sorry. I don't like to call individuals out, but I thought he was one of the worst players on the pitch against Everton. Nothing was happening. He's not delivering for us at the moment. He's not offering us much. I get to 90 minutes, the whistle goes, and I think, what did he actually do? Other than drive us forward, work hard, run around, spin around on the ball, pass the ball sideways and backwards, collect the ball from deep and drive forward. What is it that we're actually seeing from him? Because he isn't scoring or assisting right now. I think the last time he assisted was the corner for Gabriel's last minute header at St James's Park. And the assist before that was, funnily enough, against Newcastle the season before at the Emirates, which I think was the second to last game. So I'm sorry. I need to see more from Martin Ødegaard. Eze deserved to be called out. Do you know what then happened? He went and got a hat-trick. He set up Martinelli against Man City. He scored against Port Vale. He scored against his old club, Crystal Palace. Since then, I've seen Eze getting called out by actually delivering. So it might be that I'm still not quite happy with Eze. But you know what? He has scored. He has got a hat-trick against Tottenham. He has got, on the score sheet. He has assisted. He has delivered. And Martin Ødegaard just hasn't at the moment. And that's the biggest problem for me that I need to see improved. We can talk about the strike force. We can talk about the attack. But actually, I do think the creativity is the issue at the moment. I'm not seeing us thread balls through anymore. I'm not seeing us allow the striker or attacker to go through one-on-one. For the first time, I saw it against Burnley where Saka went through and missed. That's the only time I've seen us go through one-on-one where I'm like, come on, he's got to score. We used to go through one-on-one quite a bit and we used to score and sometimes we used to miss. But you know what? It's not about scoring or missing right now. If we're missing chances, I can say there's absolutely nothing wrong from goalkeeper right the way up to our attack. But them strikers are just missing it. They're just absolutely fluffing their lines. We're not saying that. There's a problem more than that. It's deep lying than that. So look, I talk here pessimistically like we're not top of the league, like we're not going to go and win things. I think this team will win something this year. I don't know what it is. If I had to put a guess, I could. But for me, I look right now at the next game, and the next game is Crystal Palace. And I just want to see in the next couple of games where we're at home against Palace, against Brighton, against Villa, I want to see now something different in that final third, and it needs to be better. And Martin Ødegaard, I think, is someone who can actually grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, I'm the captain here, I'm the leader, I'm going to run this game. And I want to be able to say at the end, player of the match, Martin Ødegaard, best player on the pitch. And I haven't been able to do that for a while. So I need to see more from him. Make sure you hit like, people. Make sure you hit subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. We're out of here.